R&B Money.
Just me and my mom growing up. We went to Windsor Village Church.
Yeah.
As many of us, we start out in the church. I played drums, studied jazz, and there was a group of friends that I had made from junior high school, right? Wayne Perry, Cedric Cotton, Maverick Cotton, Jay Green. This is from junior high school, 6th, 7th grade. I was the youngest of our crew. And these guys were uber talented. I'm talking about this is the junior high school that Chris Dave went to. Johnston, shouts out to Johnston Middle School.
Yeah.
And this is how it all started, because if you know anything about artist development during that time, you know it took years, right?
It still should take years.
Right.
And it should.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And by the time, of course, through our musical diaspora growing up, you know, we sang in the choirs, we played in the church bands. We were in the jazz bands at school. We were really into music theory. All of these guys played an instrument, but they also sang too. And so by the time we got to high school, Ideal gets signed to Virgin Records. I was in 10th grade when they got signed. I was also in 10th grade when Chris Dave went to play for Mint Condition.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of our musical influences that we had grown up around, that we had admired, you know, Jason Moran was also cut from that cloth too, and he's like director of the Kennedy Center Jazz.
Yeah.
So it's like these types of musical pedigrees was around us, and this what really inspired us. Now, me being the youngest kid, nobody was really listening to me. I couldn't sing a lick. My cousin Charles Venn was in the group at the time too.
He was in Ideal?
Ideal was a 5-man group before it turned into a 4-man group. And they went to Lamar High School. So I kind of followed them everywhere they went, right? And by the time I ended up graduating, which I graduated from the High School for Performing and Visual Arts, which is the same school B. Cox, Beyonce, all of the, you know, that pedigree went through. But they were already signed to Virgin Records, and they got put on the shelf. And so by the time we get through graduating high school, you know, these guys was running around Houston singing, you know, at all kinds of events. My mother, who was like a socialite in Houston, you know, set them up singing events for Winnie Mandela, things of that such. And then they caught the ears of this management company called Mactown Management and Too Hard to Touch. This same management company happened to manage this group, H-Town.
Yeah.
Right?
Too hard to touch.
Yeah. Shout out to Bishop Burrell, Stick, Pat Johnson, those guys. Now, mind you, I didn't have any skin in the game. I'm just a kid that's rolling with my friends, hoping one day that maybe I could just be the drummer to go on tour with them. That was my dream, because I'm looking at Chris Dave and what he's doing, and I'm like, man, this is what I want to do.
So are they moving with the band though at this point, or no?
Moving with H-Town?
No, I'm saying as far as Ideal. So like you said, you just wanted to go on the road with them. So no, you just really kicking it. You're not even playing drums at the shows, nothing.
None of that.
Okay.
None of it. But we wanted to create music together. And, you know, during that time, you know how much it costs to get in studios.
Different.
Arm and leg.
So we didn't have the ability to have those types of privileges, especially growing up in Houston. It wasn't like an Atlanta scene. It wasn't like there was just the music business everywhere.
Right.
So when H-Town and Pat Johnson and Bishop Burrell invested their time creatively in these guys, they gave them an opportunity to write and produce their own stuff, right? Shouts out to G.I. Jackson, right? Because he was one of the dudes in H-Town that saw me.
Yeah.
That saw me and would invite me over to his crib, and he's like, hey, play with this ASR 10 keyboard for a little bit. You know, let's see what you could do. Couldn't do nothing.
Right.
Couldn't do nothing, but it was somebody that in that nucleus saw me in a way in which that was different from how they saw my guys.
Right.
And I knew my guys were talented. Like, I was like waving their flag like none other. And H-Town would take them on like spot dates. You know, they might have an opening.
Yeah.
And this was long before Noontime came into the picture, long before the records came into the picture, long before we even took a trip to Atlanta, right? And that thing kind of fizzled after a while.
Yeah. But this whole time, Ideal is signed to Virgin. They're a signed group.
They're a signed group to Virgin, right? Directly to Virgin, not through any subsidiaries or anything like that. And so it was a privileged opportunity because we saw this growth, and it took years. It took years to get on the shelf.
Yeah.
They had a single came out that was a Marvin Gaye remake on Original Gangsters. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Of course
movie.
I remember Original Gangsters, right. Man. Drew Down was in Original Gangsters, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real West Coast movie.
Absolutely.
Huh? So that was the beginning, right? For me seeing what could potentially occur, right? And I go to college then. When I go to college, everybody's back at home. You know, the movie didn't do too good. The soundtrack didn't do too good. I think Virgin was changing administrations.
Regimes, yeah.
You know, and so, you know, get lost in the sauce at a certain point. But we never stopped. And so I got into a car accident, maybe coming home from college. And it awarded me the opportunity to buy some gear.
Yeah.
And I bought an ASR-10 keyboard. What G.I. used to let me come over his crib and play with and tinker with. I bought it from Bishop Burrell, Stick. So he's the guy that produced Knockin' the Boots, produced all the H-Town stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So that was my first keyboard. And then I'm like, okay, we can create something now. But I wasn't a keyboard player, but this was a sampler.
Right.
So I learned how to manipulate things, learn how to record their vocals into the sampler, stack them up, press the one button, and it sounds like a bunch of stacks. It's like the first DAW.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that was really my first foray into the technical side of things because now I felt like I had some value to bring to the table. And
so they had no other main producer at this point?
No. They had Stick, and it was us as a group. We called ourselves at that time Abstract Productions, right? I know you remember Biohazard.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was like our first Biohazard production company, and it was us. And we had an opportunity to go in, and some people gave us, you know, we had some guys that threw us a little money, and it was like
the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had some guys that threw us some money and said, go in the studio and do some things. So we cut this demo. And I mean, like, one of these songs is called Puppy Love. Right? I can't wait till y'all hear that. Right? Robert Glasper loves this song too.
To this day.
To this day. Right. But so yeah, that was the claim to fame of my contribution to them as a group.